Good day. Welcome to our IGCSE Physics series. And we are looking at the first section of topics that you will find in your IGCSE curriculum. Here we will explain some concepts and try to give you a clearer understanding of what is in your textbook. Please feel free to pause and use the resources that we show in the slide series, and also note down anything that you think you will need in future. We hope you enjoy this series. The next measurement we have is time. So how do we measure time? How do we determine time? And why is time in physics important? So first, what is the accepted unit of time? The accepted unit of time is seconds, because it's the most accurate concept of time if you look at the ticker on any of the analog clocks. Or if you look on a digital clock, sometimes you will see the colon flashing at you, and they will indicate the seconds that are passing by through the flash of the colon. We also have, how can we describe the concept of time? So there are various different ways to describe this, but a very simple way to say or to give a description of time is to look at how a day goes by. So each day has a different length of time, and a day is determinative of how long it takes the Earth to rotate around the sun, and for the Earth to rotate on its own axis. So one day is one rotation of the Earth's axis. 1 year is one rotation around the sun. And then we also have, so this is how we measure the passage of time. And the reason why we don't use days or years to measure things in physics is because it's too long. We need a shorter unit of time to measure in. And therefore, the second is the best way to measure it, because not every day is equally long. And therefore, using the unit of seconds is the best way to measure time in physics. How do time measuring devices work? How do time measuring devices work? So time measuring devices rely on an oscillation system. So let's see. So if you look at this, you will see there's a gear on the inside. This is one of those Tipex tape things. So as this thing oscillates, it turns around and around. And because of its oscillation, it has a certain duration that it needs to turn one cycle around. So if I make a mark here and I turn it around once, then I have measured one turn of this gear. And this is what we use to measure time in physics, because as soon as something oscillates once, this is the measurement that we can control, because the sphere or the circle that we use is exactly the same size. So depending on this oscillation here, something else can turn as well. So if we turn this one, then this one will turn as well. But this one will turn at a faster speed than this one. So we will turn this one at a steady pace, and we will measure on the second one. So therefore, as you saw with the Tipex tape, or the corrector tape, I'm not sure what other people call it. But anyway, to measure time relies on an oscillating unit with a constant speed, and as this thing constantly turns, there will be things that make marks, a ticker that records how fast this wheel oscillates or this gear moves around and around. And that is how time is measured. There is a fixed point and something turns around the fixed point, just like the Earth's axis and the Earth around the sun. Number 5. Which method do we use to improve accuracy? So due to time being such a subjective and non-linear concept, but an oscillating concept, we have to use a method of increased repetitions to improve accuracy. So we will not just use one oscillation, but we might use several oscillations, or we will define it in our experiment as 20 oscillations that we used for our experiment to measure time. And this is how we try to minimize the margin of error as far as possible and improve our accuracy in physics. Then number 6, describe the word period within the scientific context. So period is the amount of time that elapses or transpires. So this is the amount of time or the period that expires for one oscillation. So if you have your gear, we will be testing for one period is the full cycle from one side all the way back to the first side in our example with the corrector tape or Tippex tape. I still don't know what it's called. But anyway, I call it Tippex tape. Anyway, a period will be, let's say we start with this section here. A period will be from here all the way around 360 degrees back again to there. That will be one period. So if we say we are doing an improvement of accuracy experiment, we need to do several or 20 oscillations, then it will mean that we go around the gear several times or 20 times. Lastly, what is the meaning of frequency? So frequency will refer to the amount of complete oscillations in a period of time. And usually the amount of complete oscillations is measured in 1 second. So you will take your phone or your stopwatch or your normal watch and you will see how many times this thing turns around and around in 1 second. Because remember, time, the basic unit or the standard unit measurement is seconds. So how many times does this thing turn around and around per second? And if it only turns like a quarter of the way for a second, then it will have a very long frequency. It will not be fast. But if it's turning the full 360 for every second, then it has a short frequency. So it goes through the oscillations extremely fast. Thank you for joining us in today's session on IGCSE Physics. We hope that this topic has helped you to gain some insight into what you can expect in this curriculum for physics. Enjoy your day. Bye.